Welcome to my video presentation of Secure by Design Assessment 3. Here in this video, I'm going to show you three posters that are required for my fulfillment of Assessment 3. And three posters are named poster number 1 request, poster number 2 retrieve, and poster number 3 review. And I'm going to explain one by one about the different process that I I am going through these different posters. So in poster number 1, here you can see the user is logged in through the user interface, and user provide the login credentials to the user interface, and all the credentials that user provides are sent to the database for authentication, and this is sent through the HTTPS request. Since we enter our data into the web browser, and web browser sends directly to connected to the server where database is stored, and in this process everything is authenticated, encrypted, and secure key exchange is performed so that optimum security measures can be followed during login process, and nobody can tamper the data in between the user interface and database. So once the request is sent to the database, the authentication is performed, and depending upon the inputs supplied by the user, the login may be success or fail. If login is success, the user will be given retrieve access to search the data from the database. But here, if the user fails to log in, that means if the user credentials doesn't match with the data that are stored in the database, then it may return the error message to the user saying that your credentials are incorrect. Or if somebody tries to log in continuously with others fake account, then the account can be logged account can be logged so that it can be enabled after some hours, or maybe through different process of multi-factor authentication, or even we can send the email or SMS notification that unauthorized access is attempt is tried on your account. Similarly, we can ask for captcha also, so that to verify that the login attempt is not made by a robot or using any bot. Or we can block that particular IP so that further unauthorized login attempt wouldn't be done. So here you can see it's a complete flow chart that denotes the request model. The user with correct credentials, they are given access to retrieve screen, from where they will retrieve the data according to their access level. Once login is success, the user will see the screen where they can search for the information. So keywords should be supplied for the search, obviously, since data can be fetched depending upon the keyword supplied by the user. The keyword are entered into the UI, where that keyword is again sent to the database for search. SQL request query for data retrieval is sent to the database so that user can get the data according to their keyword supplied by the user. So that particular request are processed, and user access level validation and different security measures are adopted, which I have mentioned in the report, so that the correct user with correct access level can uh, access the data from the database depending upon their access level. So here, once the user provide the keyword, the access level is checked so that everybody doesn't get all the data from the database. Data can be retrieved based on their access level. Once the query is supplied, data processing is done, the data are given to the user depending upon their access level, and it is retrieved to the user through UI. So it is the retrieve process where users supply the keyword, and depending upon their access level, the data is fetched from the database so that they can see the data which are only authorized them to see. So like this way retrieve process can work. Now finally we can go to the poster number 3, that is review. As you can see, there is a database in the center, and all the rectangle box shows the processing. Since here I haven't shown whole flowchart, because it's only the uh, main processing, data processing, that are done in the back end of this our application. So to as in the login process, the login may be attempted by a bot. Someone may be running the script to login, try the login and guess the password. So if someone tries to log in with the robot, then what can be done? Captcha can be sent, as you can see. To verify whether the login attempt is done by robot or human, we can send the captcha, as we are already familiar about it. We can also give them multi-factor authentication so that they can authorize or authenticate themselves as a original user. Or I have already mentioned, we can block their IP so that same unauthorized request cannot be done through the same computer or devices. Or we can limit the login. For example, if somebody logins for 5 times in a row with wrong information, they can be banned for login for 1 hour, 2 hour, or for 24 hour. We can limit the login from these particular devices. This is the way of preventing the login trials by the robot. And similarly, there is another very important thing that we need to consider while reviewing our application. It is securing and storing our credentials. Since users are supplying their username and password and other important information like credit card, we should store that information in our database with optimum security measures that we can follow. The For that security purpose, we can use hashing algorithm like MD5. We can encrypt their data, as we so that it cannot be readable by human. Or we can use SSL certificates so that the transformation of transporting data from the user portal to database gets much more secure. And we can also use password manager, and there are other things that I have mentioned in my report. And another thing that need to be considered in this theme in this part is that we have to manage access level. This allows particular user to access only the data which are authorized for them only. Not all the user will get access to all the data. Depending upon their access level, we have to retrieve the data from the database. So while reviewing, we have to make sure that several access level are made and different roles are assigned so that different users get different set of access level or roles should be assigned. Access control should be made. Auditing should be done. Auditing means which of the people are doing what type of activity in the system, or is appropriate user getting the appropriate amount of data. This is log auditing can be done. Or review access right, or we have to review that correct user are getting correct type of data. That must be done at frequent interval of time. And last but not the least, very important thing is that we have to assess the risks and mitigate them. As we know, our app is always vulnerable, and risk assessment process is also a continuous process, and the risks and threats may come at every instant of time. So risk assessment should be done at frequent interval of time. There are several types of risks. Just to mention, brute force attack can be done by um, faking different web traffic to our system. Now, similarly, cross scripting can be done. SQL injection can be done. There are some different risks and threats that are very vulnerable to our this particular application. So, for the mitigation process, we have to use firewall. We have to encrypt our data. We have to use strict standard compliance certificate or policies that should be implemented. These are some of the few things that we need to consider while reviewing our app. And with this information, I like to close my video cast and don't want to make it so long. Thank you for your attention.